New York City provides hundreds of millions of dollars a year in taxpayer financed subsidies to private developers. It is only right that the jobs created by those projects pay a decent wage. The Fair Wages for New Yorkers Act, widely known as the Living Wage Bill, would nudge these employers in the right direction. The bill, now before the City Council, would require future development projects that receive $1 million or more in discretionary financial assistance from the city to pay $10 an hour plus benefits for full-time workers and $11.50 an hour without benefits for at least 10 years. That may not be much, but it is an improvement over the minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. Mayor Michael Bloomberg is fighting this change, arguing that a wage increase might scare off new developments and cost the city thousands of lower-paying jobs. That has not been the experience elsewhere. A similar law, enacted in 2003 in Los Angeles, requires companies receiving city subsidies to pay workers $10.42 an hour, or $11.67, without benefits. Despite warnings that the city would lose projects, Donald Spivak, a development official in Los Angeles, said at a council meeting last month that those predictions were wrong and that he was unaware of any project that was canceled because of the wage requirement. The Center for American Progress found that 15 cities with living wage laws, including Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Cleveland, and San Francisco, had the same levels of employment growth as other similar cities without the requirements. Mayor Bloomberg's arguments against this modest wage increase contrast with his endorsement of a 2002 city law that now sets a minimum of $10 an hour for about 60,000 workers employed by service contractors hired by the city, many of them home health care workers. Home care workers got a similar increase as part of Governor Andrew Cuomo's Medicaid redesign this year. The City Council has revised the bill after earlier criticism that it was confusing and too restrictive. It now is clear that exemptions for manufacturers and small businesses with revenues of less than $5 million are favored. The bill's sponsors should also consider exempting grocery stores in areas that need fresh food markets. That said, this bill makes sense. A wage of $10 an hour would help lift thousands of New Yorkers above the poverty line. The curbside bus industry has become a booming inner city phenomenon, offering cheap fares in hard times, but also a crash fatality rate 7 times that of mainline carriers based in terminals where maintenance and safety checks are more common. Curbside companies too often reincarnate themselves under different names after running up dangerous safety citations. They also suffer greater driver fatigue and higher crash rates than conventional carriers, according to the National Transportation Safety Board. Federal safety experts first proposed 43 years ago that seat belts be manufactured on all interstate buses. Congress still has not acted despite all of the statistics that show that most fatalities result from passengers being ejected from the bus in rollovers. Congress vowed to tackle the issue after a horrific accident last March in New York in which 15 passengers were killed and 18 injured on a trip home from a casino. The driver was indicted for manslaughter, and the bus line shut down. Yet, the owner continued offering service through his other companies. Since then, there have been 5 other crashes nationally involving curbside carriers, leaving 22 dead and 159 injured. A bipartisan Senate bill, co-sponsored by Kay Bailey Hutchison, a Texas Republican, and Sherrod Brown, an Ohio Democrat, would require all passengers to wear seatbelts and mandate stronger roofs, reinforced window glass, and regulations on fly-by-night companies and drivers. The bill is caught up in infighting over a larger transportation bill. Senate leaders in both parties should untangle this and make travel safer. They may not take a lot of buses, but their constituents certainly do. As an economist and former official of the International Monetary Fund, I have always read Mr. Jackman's work with great interest. I was therefore surprised to read his summary judgment on Hungary. He refers to gerrymandering, while in fact the proposed electoral law stipulates explicitly that individual constituencies shall cover a coherent area, exactly to avoid what Mr. Krugman assumes that the government is doing. As for judicial independence, just as in the United States, where judges are often selected and confirmed by elected officials, let us give the Hungarian judges the necessary respect and not assume that they are mere puppets of politicians. Regarding the Hungarian media, anyone who reads the Hungarian press can see as much outspoken criticism about the government as ever. The supposed criminalization of the Socialist Party that Mr. Krugman cites is only a symbolic and political declaration that acknowledges the horrors of the previous communist regime, something that most former communist countries in Europe did years ago.